Hey everybody, how are we doing? I hope we're doing good. I'm gonna try to make it short. I say that in the beginning of every video because I know everyone's attention span is becoming like a squirrel, so I'm gonna try to make this short and simple and sweet. But today's theme of the day is self-love. And what do I mean by self-love? I mean loving thyself. It's really hard to love yourself now because people always mistake that for you being selfish. And there's a big difference between loving yourself and being selfish. I'm going to explain it to you. When you love yourself, firstly, you got to understand, when you love yourself, you're going to lose friends. It's going to happen. People are going to drop out of your circle like that. Why? Because they don't love themselves. When you start to appreciate yourself and love yourself, you start feeling and knowing that there are certain things you're going to accept, and then there's certain things you're not going to accept. And some people are either going to reach that, or some people are not. And that's where you lose your friends. Now, when you don't love yourself, you'll accept anything, and you're grasping and you're holding on to people that will cause you damage and be unfaithful to you and be poisonous to you and disrupt your inner being, your inner love. It's very important to love yourself, but not too much and not too little. When you love yourself too much, that's when your ego and your id gets involved and you start becoming selfish. Now, when you love yourself extremely, that's where the selfishness comes into play, and that's when you just think you're the shit, you're the bomb. Everything has to go your way. You won't ever bend. You won't ever break. You won't ever compromise. But when you love yourself just that much, just enough, it's a beautiful thing. Your whole world is open. Your eyes are open. You can see everything in crystal HD clear view. And it's a beautiful thing. Some people are going to drop off. And it's not necessarily that they don't love themselves. It could be a combination of them. They love themselves either too much or they don't love themselves enough. When you don't love yourself enough, you can't give enough. You see what I'm saying? You can't give properly. And when you love yourself too much, you also don't want to give because you're selfish. Now, loving yourself does require you to be a little selfish, and that's okay. Don't ever let anyone make you feel bad about loving yourself or being a little bit selfish, because you have to preserve yourself first, right? If you don't preserve yourself first, how are you going to love anyone else? How are you going to help anyone else? How are you going to be there for anyone else if you can't help yourself, right? Some people don't get that. Some people think it's all about them, and that's where you get the people that love themselves too much. When you lose these friends, don't be upset, because you stood up for yourself. You made it clear. Also remember to make it clear what your standards are. And don't let anybody ever tell you your standards are too high. Unless you're like being super extra, like this gotta be this, and you gotta make this much of money, and you gotta do this, and you gotta do that. Nah, that's when you're starting to be selfish. But you set your own standards and you stick by it. You don't budge. That's how you know you've achieved self-love. Because you're going to set that standard and you're not going to move it. And if they don't want to reach it, they got to go. That is the theme for 2015. They got to go. They're either going to reach that level of understanding with you, or you can compromise your level or whatever you want to do. But if they don't want to try, or they want to tell you that you're too high, they're lazy. And they don't love themselves. So when you love yourself, you can give and reciprocate, and vice versa. And it keeps going and going in this motion. And it's this huge circle of giving and taking, giving and taking. Two people that love themselves and they get together, it's a beautiful thing. Because they can give and also receive. People love themselves too much, they just take. And when people don't love themselves enough, they won't even try. They'll give, get burnt out. The vicious cycle starts. And then we have people that are just bitter and don't want to be with anyone and think all guys are this and think all guys are that. You know the drill. So just love yourself. And remember, the theme of 2015 is either you reach this standard that I've set, or you gotta go. And don't be afraid to let people go. People are only supposed to be in your life for certain periods of time, certain seasons. Some people are roots. They're supposed to be there forever. Some people are branches, and they gotta go. Don't be afraid to let people go. Also, don't be afraid to be alone. That's another thing I'm noticing a lot with the younger kids. Y'all gotta be okay with being alone. It's not that bad. It's okay to be alone. It's probably a good thing to be alone every now and then. Everyone needs their personal time, personal space to learn you and get to know you and love you better. And that's another way to reach your personal love. Set your standard. Stay on your standard. Don't buckle. Don't let people make you feel bad for having standards. There's nothing wrong with it. And love yourself.